About one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year or this past year. Happy New Year, everybody. But that was A Simple Favor. And with that being said, A Simple Favor was definitely not the best movie that came out this year. But it most certainly was also not the worst. So today, while I eat my French fries, because I eat French fries either like a ravenous, hungry animal or like the slowest person on the planet, I'm going to talk to you guys exclusively about how much I absolutely hate the DC Cinematic Universe. A video essay by me. I think that it's a really popular thing to want to rip on the DC Cinematic Universe. I think that it's gotten so big among the movie reviewing community. And yeah, maybe I am hopping on the bandwagon. Like, maybe you can just, like, go down in the comments and be like, oh, you're just talking about it because it's popular. You don't actually want to make good quality videos about anything that matter. You're just trying to get famous on YouTube. And to that, I would say, no. I think part of the reason that so many people want to talk about the DC Cinematic Universe is because it is so fundamentally bad. Like, it's just so bad. I think that DC has some shining qualities. Like, a lot of people want to point out the Dark Knight trilogy and say, oh, well, this is an example of how good DC actually is. And to that, I'm like, yeah, these guys obviously have potential. Like, DC obviously knows how they want to make movies, and they just don't do that. I think that if DC put forth the effort to give movies the budget and the crew that they need, then we could have more movies like The Dark Knight. I think that Christopher Nolan did an amazing job. I think that that movie is a shining... I think that movie... Those movies are shining stars amongst the superhero movie watching community. It is critically acclaimed. They're incredible. And I really want to point out really quick, just sidebar. A lot of people say that Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is so good because of Heath Ledger's performance as Joker. And granted, Heath Ledger did an incredible job as the Joker, but he is not the only reason why that movie is super good. That movie is good on so many levels, and I could talk about it ad nauseum, but we're not going to do that. I think that my issue with the DC Cinematic Universe is they have made only one thing clear, and that is that they are going to remain inconsistent in the films that they continue to put out towards the public. When I saw Man of Steel, I wanted to put my head underneath my car tire, have my boyfriend start it for me. I hated that movie. I think they wanted to make a movie a lot like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, but they couldn't do that because Batman is camp. Like, Batman in and of himself is campy. Like, he's a little silly. I think there was a Superman movie in like the 1980s. The very first one of, I think that it's a trilogy. The very first one of the trilogy is, in my eyes, a perfect Superman movie, because this movie perfectly displays who Superman is as like a comic book character on the big screen. I think that's the way Superman should be portrayed, because admittedly his character is a bit, over the top. It's a bit ridiculous. The idea of this true blue American superhero that's an allegory for Jesus, living in a city called Metropolis who falls in love with a reporter. Like, come on, guys. Like, his character is camp. So I think what the DC tried to do, I think what that crew tried to do with Man of Steel is they wanted to make him serious. They wanted to make him like this dark, serious character when that just doesn't work for Superman. Additionally, it doesn't work because why is his name escaping me? I don't remember what his name is at the moment, and I think that's gonna kill me. What was his name? The guy who played Superman in Man of Steel and in Justice League and Batman v Superman, and he's actually British. Why can't I remember his name? Anyway, that guy. He was definitely channeling something of like an older version of Superman. Like the way he spoke and the character that he played, it was channeling an older version of Superman that shouldn't have existed in this darker universe. And yet it did. And it just did not fit at all. Totally all over the place. I'm not gonna go through like every DC movie and rip it apart because that's been done a million times before. But I just want to point out that like it started here with Christopher Nolan's trilogy. It moved to try and replicate that in Man of Steel, and that didn't work. And afterwards we get something. I know that there was something and it was bad. And then we get Man of Steel, not Man of Steel. Then we get fucking Batman v Superman or something, which is stupid. And at some point we got Wonder Woman, which I didn't like. Now, I'm sorry that I have opinions. Like, I'm sorry that I, as a human being, have opinions and can, like, have interests and can show distaste for something. I did not like Wonder Woman. Sure, like, the visuals were fine. There was some clever dialogue. I think that the chemistry between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine was really nice. I think that's the only thing that was really nice. I think that the ending was bad. I think that it was stupid that all the other Amazonians had to have an accent just because Gal Gadot has an accent. I think Gal Gadot was a bad actress. I think Chris Pine didn't deserve to be subjected to that. I think that the ragtag group of people that Gal Gadot and Chris Pine traveled around with shouldn't have been in the movie. I think that the movie shouldn't have just opened the way that it did. Why didn't it just start with, Gal Gadot as like a freaking adult on the island? Like, why is it her opening, looking at a picture, and then her as a child, and then they're like trying to make it like the Sword is the God Killer, but she's the God Killer. Like, it was so poorly done, and I wish it had been executed better. I have a problem with the DC Cinematic Universe because of these things that they do. So not only do they make bad movies, but they follow trends so poorly. When you have a trend in cinema, it's best to observe that trend on a larger scale. I'm going to put my french fries down for this because it's going to get serious. I need a drink. When you observe a trend on a larger scale, you are more likely to produce more successful content. For instance, I love horror films, but I talk about how much I hate modern day horror cinema because continually we have seen these specific trends being followed throughout these movies. The trends of excessive jump scares, rehashing the same exposition over and over, the same troop of people going into the movie. Nowadays, a normal horror movie is probably produced by Blumhouse, probably has some sort of actor that you've seen somewhere in like Riverdale or something, but like, you know, you can't quite place their face, but they're like a low, like B- actor that you've seen somewhere. They probably have one of those as the main character. And it probably goes female male that's not quite like other female males, and they're a group of like 4 or 5 other friends go to do this thing that they're not supposed to do and awaken some supernatural being of some type, either ghost, demon, grim reaper, fucking cursed object of some sort or type, and they have to go through these long, expository, terribly written pieces of dialogue, and then they get killed one by one in between each bit of long expository piece of dialogue. And then the movie looks like main character is gonna survive, and then they don't, and the only thing scary about the movie is the, you know, raise in volume and sudden imagery that is a jump scare. Like, this is the basic outline of modern day horror movie trends. The reason that these things are successful is because people enjoy it once, they will go watch it again and again and again. If you can observe a trend happening for a long amount of time and can determine that within the foreseeable future it will be successful, then in cinema you can probably succeed with creating something that is of the same trend. With DC, they didn't observe any type of long-term trend. They didn't see anything happening over the long term that was successful. What they saw was their own movie, or their own trilogies, getting their own trilogy. What they saw was their own trilogy being successful and then trying to redo it with less, you know, of a creative team behind it, and it flopped. It flopped in terms of like quality. And then they saw, oh, well, you know, Marvel's already on their way to doing the Avengers if they haven't already gotten there already. And, you know, Iron Man was funny, and Captain America was, he was a patriot. He was kind of camp, but it was nice. It was nice to see, you know, Captain America on the big screen. But then Thor was, he was cocky and jockey, and it was a coming of age story, and, you know, now they're moving on to Avengers Infinity War and blah, 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 and they see all these Marvel movies coming out, but they're just a hair too late. And every DC movie that comes out seems like a rehash of the Marvel movie that we just saw. There is no trend to follow here. What they're doing is they're copying Marvel movies. I feel like the people behind these DC movies are aware of this too. Because Henry Cavill was Superman's name. Henry Cavill doesn't want to play Superman anymore. It looks like Ben Affleck is also going to drop off playing Batman. Thank God. He looks like he needs a nap. It looks like they're going to be redoing a couple things and retrying a couple things. It doesn't look like Justice League. Justice League didn't do all that great. And it's looking like DC's gonna look into doing a complete overhaul on the formula that they've been following, which isn't a formula. It's just, you know, piggybacking off of Marvel's success and hoping that they can do it even incrementally as well. I think my main issue is I have such an issue with DC wanting to make movies about their properties, but exclusively doing it for the money. And a lot of people will argue like, oh, well, isn't that why you make big budget movies, so you can make your money and make your money? But like, the difference between making your money back, you know, double or triple or quadruple what you spent on the movie and using that money towards your next project and continuing to be creative and try new things and create, new technologies and break boundaries and, start new trends and just generally move on to the next best thing, and making a movie for as little money as possible and then exploiting it, under the guise that it is exactly like the last movie that you saw that was similar to this, and then reaping that cash benefit. That difference is very, very strong. I don't know. I'm not any type of movie expert. I'm not, like a professional movie critic. And maybe my terminology isn't all that well fleshed out. Maybe I'm not the best person to take advice from. This is purely my own opinion. But I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like I'm not getting the quality that I signed up for. Growing up, I was a huge Batman fan. I was definitely a bigger Batman fan than I was any type of like Iron Man, Captain America fan. But when it comes to the cinematic universe and when it comes to cinema, I am such a huge moviegoer. I would much rather go see a movie than read a comic book. That's how I fell in love with Batman. That's how I fell in love with DC. I watched Teen Titans. I watched all the Batman cartoons. I watched, stuff like that all the time. And I ate it up. So why is it that DC, who primed a generation that grew up on some of their best content, primed a generation for this garbage? And don't even get me started on the new Titans live action shit. I've never seen it, and I'm not about to watch it, because that's blasphemy right there. Anyway, maybe none of this makes sense, but I hope that, you guys took something away from it. If you guys want to see more, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Who knows? Who knows if I maybe might do any more of these. If there's anything you guys want to see in the future, let me know. And I look forward to seeing you for the next video. And